Hello, everyone. As Yoga said, my name is Dan Muth. I started this program back in 2018, and I'd like to thank the department for the opportunity to be here today. My project was using land survey data to enhance the Apache County parcel layer. I've been a practicing land surveyor for the last 40 years, so I hope that this presentation is both useful and beneficial. The goals of my project were to basically bring the geospatial community together to bring surveying and GIS together in a meaningful way as far as depicting the parcel layers within county GISs. I think that the survey data is beneficial and it can be used to basically augment the way that parcels are displayed and hopefully by the use of survey data that's properly georeferenced, it can eliminate some of the confusion that's created by the depictions. My hypothesis was that when the survey data is properly georeferenced, it can become useful to the parcel reliability, the data layers, and their graphical representation. This young man here is my assistant, Caleb Newby. This picture is of a project we were working on for the Game and Fish. You can see in the picture, he's observing an original stone monument section corner that was established by the General Land Office surveys in 1878. So those stone monuments are still out there. We find them routinely in our part of the state. And it's just an example of what we do on a daily basis. This is a project I worked on in Coconino County in 2015. It's a project, it comprised of 320 acres. They wanted it split up into 40-acre tracts. These are the tracts here. I used a basis of bearing statement that incorporated a NGS data sheet style with latitude and longitude here and with coordinates here for my primary control point. I also included convergence, point scale, combined scale factor. And then I also included a bearing and distance tie from my control point to a quarter corner on the west side of the section here. And by doing so, that would allow whoever takes this plat to go from the control point to the quarter corner, and then by bearing and distance, recreate all of the parcels. And as you can see here, that's exactly what Coconino County did in producing their parcel layout. So this is an example. And this was the impetus for the project. This was the example I used to think of the project because I saw what Coconino County did with it. And I thought, well, that would be great if Apache County could end up utilizing such a resource. This is my study area here. This is River Run subdivision. It's a subdivision in Eagar, Arizona, where I live. The demographics of the community, it's a community of about 4,500 people. It's right on the edge of the White Mountains, which is nestled between the Mogollon Rim and the Northeast Plateau. We're about 3,500 feet. There's 4,500 people that live in the Eagar area, Eagar-Springerville area. And I thought this would be an excellent way to highlight the benefits of using georeference data. This is the first final plat of River Run Estates. And I'd like to draw attention to some of the tracks and some of the exceptions that were actually noted in the subdivision, because in the subsequent amendments, you'll notice that some of those same things are missing. And the reason that amended plats have to be platted is the amendment process. When a subdivision is approved by dedication, either by a town or a county, only the town or county can accept or adopt the amendments. So you basically have to replat the subdivision and show the changes so that those changes can be formally accepted. This is the second amendment that I worked on. And as you can see, there was amendments to several of the tracks. This area here, the lots were actually made bigger to incorporate some of the open areas, as in this area here. And then these lots in this area were actually extended to follow the Little Colorado River and make the Colorado River the actual boundary of those lots. The third amendment doesn't really show any land changes, but it does show changes to drainage easements. This area here is a retention pond that the town of Eager requested be made bigger. And then these areas here are the drainage easements that feed this retention area. And that was the cause for the third amendment. The amendment process of my involvement actually started in 2016. I became first involved with the project in 2016 and then took it through till 2021. These red dots that you see here are all of the monuments that were physically located by us in the field. I started georeferencing the project in 2016 by using the online positioning user service. And then later started using direct observations from the Coors network using AZRV as my base point. This is a point established by NGS in the Springerville area. So the later surveys, 2012 on, utilized this control point and this control point data. Then this is a graphic of all of the data. This is just a sample of the data that I collected. Each of these little red X's are the property corners that I either set or recovered. You can see the ones I recovered here along the roads versus the ones I set on the amendments. And then these lines here represent the new parcel boundaries or the new lot lines that I created with that amendment. All of this was done using the Arizona State Plane Coordinate System, the latest adjustment in 2011, and we're in the east zone of the State Plane Coordinate System. This is my CAD database of everything that I changed in the subdivision. The blue represents lots that were re-surveyed by me, and then the magenta and red represents adjoining parcels where I may have located the property corners, but I didn't necessarily amend any boundaries, so they were left intact. This is the parcel data that I obtained from Apache County. And as you can see, it still holds the open areas, which was a golf course at the time that was later, the golf course was closed, and that's why we enclosed these areas and expanded these lots to encapsulate these open areas. And then this is the area of the retention basin. So as you can see, the Apache County data didn't incorporate those changes until much later. I isolated River Run subdivision by parcel ID number. The 10468 was what I used to create the sublayer for just River Run estates. So basically the way I carried this out was I took all of the legacy data that I had for River Run and had to verify that the coordinate data was all on the same transformation strategy, because it had changed from 2006 up to 2012, and then there was an adjustment after 2012. So I had to make sure that all of that data, all the coordinate data, was on the same transformation strategy. And then I had to go through and basically do the same thing with all of the CAD data. Once I had accomplished that, then I went through and I took the county parcel data layer, set up a project within ArcGIS then went back to the CAD data and converted the lot polylines into polygons using a function within AutoCAD map, or I'm sorry, Civil 3D map. And once those polygons were created, then I could export them as shape files. And then I used those shape files to import them into ArcGIS. And then once I had done that, I could do a statistical analysis between my locations versus the county's locations on their data layer. So to back up a little bit, each of these nodes had to be verified for location. And then once they were all verified and the transformation strategy was solidified, I had to take into account things like scalar and rotation between the different surveys. And so all of that had to be cleaned up. And then over the course of the site, I took the northwest corner, the northeast corner, this monument down here at the southeast corner, and then a couple points here in the middle, and then the southwest corner as my primary test sites. I had 15 total sites, but some of them contained observation error or random error, and those had to be cleaned up. So then from the final 6 sites, I tabulated the coordinates and then went through and compared the differences. When it brought the data into ArcGIS, I took the survey coordinate data and set it as control, and then brought in the polygons from the CAD files and used that as secondary control, and then compared that to the parcel layer that I had created, the sub layer I'd created for River Run, and then again looked at the positional differences and then analyzed those differences. As you can see in this graphic, the red triangles represent my survey data. The black lines represent the survey data from the parcel polygons. And then the blue represents the county parcel data. And you can see that there was some difference. There was a shift on the ground. So my 6 primary sites I used for the statistical analysis, and I just used a basic statistical analysis. I didn't get in depth because I just didn't believe that it was warranted for this particular project. So what I did was I took and I did a basic latitude and departure analysis of each of the coordinate sites. Just taking the difference in northing and the difference in easting. And when I did that, I found a planar shift of 1.22 feet in latitude and 4.01 feet in departure. After I applied the difference of latitude and departure, then I ended up with this result with my survey subdivision data in green, and then the adjoining parcel data in blue. Here's a zoomed in example of how that was applied. And then this is an example of another part of the project where that was applied. And you can see that it pulled everything in relatively cleanly. My conclusions after all this was said and done is I honestly believe that with the use of georeference survey data, when it's properly applied, can be very beneficial to the counties in how they apply it to their parcel networks. Now, this can be done a multitude of ways. I have found that Apache County relies on ties to section and quarter section corners for deeds and subdivisions to create their parcel layers. The problem with that is it doesn't, without good data on the section and quarter section corners or their primary control, it still leaves that shift in the property. Whereas Coconino County, by example, they use coordinate data derived from the transformation strategy as shown on my plat. So when it's properly applied, it works, and it works very well. The survey data can and will enhance reliability only when it's properly used within the National Spatial Reference System framework. And it works every time it's tried. After I had adjusted the polygons, I then transmitted that data to Apache County, and they then incorporated it into their system. And this is the result. This is just an example. I zoomed into this particular area so I could show the result with the photo background. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.